So welcome everyone. I'm Rebecca and thanks for coming to our January monthly meetup for the Flock XR community. Now this first section is recorded for our YouTube channel and then we stop recording to have a chat at the end. And it is just me this month. So Tracy and Liz are doing other important things outside of Flock XR right now. So this might be a little bit of a shorter demonstration than usual. So first of all, Tracy usually starts off with the highlights and she shares some project highlights with you all that we've seen out there in our community. But I actually thought it might be a fun idea to share some of the projects that we are actually trialing with Year 5 right now. So we had a lot of fun creating that first one, Shape Chaos, which introduces learners to repetition in the form of it's got a repeat loop. And it's also got in there some physics as well. And they're both important concepts to learn when creating 3D worlds. And that shape chaos, that explosion on the screen there, it just looks so much fun when you're doing it. And there's loads of different effects that you can apply to it to make it look really personalized and unique. So it's a really fun project to do. We also have a special effects sequence as well, where different materials are applied to a character in a sequence. So you can see that we're covering those concepts of sequence and repetition, but in really fun ways that can be personalized by our young people. And our Year 5 learners are enjoying those now, and they will appear in some resources coming later on. And we've got here our January sneak peek. So this is our last month with the UK Games Fund. This project is wrapping up this month. And we needed to allocate more time to enhancing our colour theme options for different user needs. So this is something that we did start a good couple of months ago and realised it was a much bigger task than expected. And we needed a little bit more time to work on it. And this is because we're sticking with just 4 themes so that you can go into the menu of the development version and you can choose those 4 different themes. And we wanted to make sure that we've got enough out there so that a wide range of users can get an accessible version of those colour themes, which is quite tricky when you only have 4 options. And we investigated things like sliders and being able to type things in yourself and create different layouts for yourself. But actually, that's going to require a login, and we're trying to avoid logins as much as possible because we want it to be really easy for you to access Flock XR. So this seems like the good compromise right now for the stage we're at with Flock XR. So we will be pushing those updates very soon, early February, maybe even in the next couple of days actually on the development version. So you'll be able to see all those new themes that we have created, which is quite exciting to look at. And then we've got super sneak peek. So I'm not going to say a huge amount about this because Tracy will share this in much more detail next month. But as you know, with Flock XR, we are trying to make it as accessible as possible. And this means that we're working on screen reader support and keyboard controls. And one part of that is looking at how the if block works. And if you are looking at programming language design, especially block-based, you'll notice that all the different tools that you use, the block-based coding tools, the if block always seems to be a bit of a troubling one. So in Scratch, you just pretty much have like your if that you can use over and over again. You don't have like an expanding if else if. And then the current version of Flock has this if block that does kind of stretch at the moment. So if you've used it before, you'll notice that when you drag extra conditions on, it kind of stretches. Now that is okay if you've got good mobility in your hands and you don't need to worry about keyboard controls. But actually, if you try to do this, if you're a really young learner who maybe isn't that used to the mouse, or if you've got low mobility in your hands, it's quite difficult to use that if block. So we've been investigating different ways to make it easier to use an if and then add an else if and another else if. And we think we've got to a good start with this. We've been testing it with different people and trying to show it to different people. And that's just a sneak peek of what it looks like. And if you want to actually see it, then you can go to the development version of Flock XR. And when you go to conditions, you'll notice that we've got an if block at the top. That's the stretchy one that you might be used to. But there's an if block at the bottom, which is our sneak peek intro. And there will definitely be more about that. And I'm sure Tracy will love to do a demo of why this will be better for screen reader users and touchscreen, keyboard control users as well, to make it easier for them. We're also going to test it with our year 5 learners as well, because they're doing selection and if statements in their unit of work. So we'll get lots and lots of feedback to make sure that we're getting this as accessible as possible. But it's definitely looking promising what we've been working on there. And then as a reminder, I've mentioned the development version a few times. Obviously, we've got our live version, which is just there when you click create with Flock XR on our website. But if you want to find the development version, which is the one that we are working on behind the scenes, then you just go to about, you choose versions, and then you choose the open development version. And then you'll be able to see all of those changes that are coming. Right, so here is a feature that I wanted to spotlight this month, and it's the button control block. Button controls will appear automatically if you have a touchscreen, but they can also be really, really handy for desktop and laptop users that don't have that touchscreen in there. So each button is programmable, and we have direction buttons, and then we have our numbered buttons as well. So imagine a typical games console. They would typically have some kind of direction buttons on there, and then they'll have probably 4 other buttons on there with symbols. Depending on which console you're using, there'll be symbols or letters or numbers or something like that for you to choose from. And this is really, really good because you can bring these onto your screen and use them like you would a controller. You can also choose different colors for your buttons. So if you've got a really dark background, then you're probably going to want, for contrast, you're going to want a really light button controller over the top. And then in reverse, if you've got a really light background, you're going to want really dark buttons on the top there. And you can even change them programmatically throughout the game. So if your scene changes from light to dark, those button controls can change as well. So it's really, really customizable how that works. And you can grab this block from the sensing category and make sure that that enabled is selected from the drop down. So you don't want automatic, because that means it'll only appear on touch screens. But if you change that automatic to enabled, like it is in the screenshot, then it will appear on any device that you are using. So what's next? I've already alluded to that I am doing some teaching. So I'm currently teaching year 5 and year 7, our new coding units that we are doing. We always test our units in schools and get feedback from the learners and the teachers on how the lesson went and how it can be improved. And we do this to make sure that our lessons are realistic for typical school settings. So we want to teach the national curriculum, but we don't want to pack the lesson with so much that everyone leaves feeling completely overwhelmed. We want to leave room for personalisation. And this testing process in schools really helps us modify our lessons so that they're perfect for you when you use them in your own classrooms. We're also going to be launching the new version of Flock XR in April. So at that point, the Create with Flock XR button will go to the new version. And we're going to provide support and guidance up to that launch date so that teachers and other educators are prepared for the change. And one of those support mechanisms is to provide a free download code to anyone who has bought stage 7 Coding 3D Worlds Part 1 unit. So if you've bought that unit of work, you will get an email with a free download code to download the updated lessons for that and videos, so that you can hopefully seamlessly move to that new version, that updated version of Flock XR. So if you buy that unit now, the current version, you will also get your free code. So anyone that buys it up to that new release, you'll get the free code for the updated version. And if you do buy it now, you'll get that little reminder that new version is live now, and here are those resources. So as you can tell, this is going to be a busy few months for us. And before we move over to the Q&A section of this, I wanted to remind you of the three ways to stay up to date with all things Flock XR, and now is a really important time to do that because we've got lots of amazing things going on. We've got our mailing list and a newsletter, and we have our fabulous Discord community for you to join, and obviously our monthly meetups that you're experiencing right now, either on YouTube or live. And these are all completely free spaces where you can ask us questions and share ideas. And the community is growing, and we'd love you to be part of it. So now, for anyone catching up on this meeting via YouTube, this concludes the recorded part of the session, but why not attend the February session live for the opportunity to stay and talk to other educators in the Flock XR community. We will add the sign up link in the description below. Thanks for watching.